friend Jay, well, he smokes a yummy joint. Oh, I love you. Yes, I love you, Jay. Hey, hey, hey. Won't you come alive with me and we can sing and dance and play for free? I love you, Jay. I love you. We're live with Jay Mitchell Robinson, one of my nearest and dearest, and I actually put in the description one of my oldest friends. So I like to
I'm about 102.
exactly. So I like to imagine the most elderly looking man possible when I say that. My oldest friend.
I'll just
The
say that this isn't a joint, though.
oh,
Yeah. So your
well,
song, I don't know, is a bit.
I'll just say that I'm very disappointed in you.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
okay.
I've just tagged you in the live, so that will come through on your page as well. And yeah, we're here.
It's
I'm
true.
here. I'm queer. I want you to get used to it, Jay.
Okay. I'm working on it. You want to see where I'm
Yeah.
at?
Look, yeah, do please. Wow, what the fuck? And this is Aubrey's house?
Yeah.
Jesus. Wow, wow, wow. That's beautiful, man. Again, I think that there's a strong irony. One of the prime reasons to want to really make a family in Australia was because we were going to be in the sun. And the sun is beautiful, and we were going to be in the sun all the time. But if you actually look, it's been overcast. I'm I'm not joking. I'm not joking. It's been overcast maybe 70-80% of the time and raining. But if does that remind you of anywhere?
Kind of like Nova Scotia, doesn't it?
Kind of like Nova Scotia, exactly. And I
Yeah.
find that I don't know if ironic's the right word. I don't know if disheartening's the right word, but there's a word.
Well,
Um,
I reckon you're having better winters.
it's true. Yeah, I mean they're very rainy winters, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I suppose. I suppose. I suppose. So, anyways, how the fuck are you, man? And thank you so much for coming on the live stream. I know this is something that I floated to you a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
at the time, I don't think you had the internet for it or something. It was like a whole different reality. So, I'm really happy
Could
that
be.
you're able to come. I'm happy that we're using StreamYard. If I could only look what I can do. I can push buttons and things happen. You know, StreamYard is awesome. Like StreamYard has been a really cool one, and you don't need laptops. And I'm using an iPad and my phone, and that is
Great.
more than enough. Yeah. With
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Zoom, with Zoom, I'd always get into these situations where I was like, okay, I just need my laptop. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't have a good laptop. And I'm like, well, it has a camera. And I'm like, oh, it's a terrible camera. Like I went
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that like I went through that like every single time as well. It was like for like I don't know a whole year. Every time I went live, I'd forget I couldn't do any of those things. So it feels really nice to have the gear.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I have known you since I think I was 19 and you were maybe 17 or 16.
Yeah, 17. What's that? 14 years? Wait,
Ooh, no,
15?
more than I'm 37, man. So, oh shit. So 16 years,
Wow.
right?
Yeah,
15,
yeah.
15 was interesting, but 16 is like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
long time.
we've been pretty much besties, since then. Uh
Yeah. And
so
still one of the
so good to
people
see
where
you.
if I've got something that I think is really funny, but it might not be that everybody finds it funny. Sometimes I
I
actually
find it
very much
funny.
target Jay. I'm like, oh, this is really fucking weird. I think this is going to be a good one for Jay.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but most importantly, I want to say it like this. We grew up in an era where a lot of people were not fully honest with how they felt. They were not fully honest with their how their mind worked. There was a lot of social indoctrination, religious indoctrination, and I feel like a lot of those early friendships and our whole friend group at that time, the whole point was to say, actually, fuck that. This is how I actually feel, and fuck, I actually want to know how you feel, and we were able to uncover and bring up, I guess you could say, like a lot of authentic feelings that might have been buried just through everyday living. And the type of honest communication, the type of creativity, the type of playfulness and fuck around and jokes, man. Like there's still a part of my heart that will always say, like, if you look back on your life, you know, we're gonna die someday. When I look back on my life, I have a feeling that's going to be a really beautiful section where I can see transformations and changes and movements inside that were reflected and shared with a whole group of people, and it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's so pure, isn't it? It's just like pure play in that space, you know, of like open friendship and just like truly seeing each other, and just like nothing in between, if you know what I mean, you know, like
unfiltered.
No facade, it's unfiltered, and it was just like pure play, just pure creative space of co-creative love, friendship in our whole group, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and also times of pure pain, but I mean real pain, you know, like this actually really hurts, and I can lean on my friends and open my heart to my friends to process that pain. That happened a lot for us, man. And also,
yeah, I mean, you were dying on my couch there for a couple of weeks.
I was dying on your couch. The story
with two types of salmonella.
The story is I came back from India at the age of 25, and at the time, very much on a spiritual kick, right? The idea was like everything spiritual. So this, whatever I'm experiencing right now, it's just a purge. It'll be fine, you know, like don't worry about it. And I was slowly dying on Jay and my brother's couch for about a month.
On its rip.
Yeah. And it turns out, and I remember the turning point was I was flossing up in your guys' bathroom, and as soon as a little bit of blood came out, I passed out. I guess I probably was like, because apparently at that time it was Shigella and Salmonella, and the two of them had broken through my intestine and were in my blood. So I think what happened was when I went like that and a little bit of blood came out, I ate the Salmonella again, passed out on your bathroom floor, and then I was like, you know, because I think everyone was also saying, Josh, you should probably go to the doctor. And I was like, no, just wait. It's a spiritual thing. I can tell it's a spiritual thing because you can tell because it's like, you know, ooh, it's a spiritual thing. And then I remember after flossing and almost dying, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the hospital. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the hospital. So I walked down to the harbor front and went to the New Age shop and got my aura scanned. And my aura was a brilliant pink, which was really cool. I've never had that happen on an aura scan before. It was all full pink. But it has a little list that said from 1 to 10 on your organs. And I had like a 1 on like 4 of the 10 organs that it showed. And I was like, you know what? I'm dying. And then took a cab from there to the hospital.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you do?
I mean, you were a hoot still. And
well, I still remember very fondly, for example, sat down to watch The Lord of the Rings. And honestly, man, I was crying though, because it was so beautiful. The music was so beautiful. The graphics were so beautiful. The story is so rich, but it was actually the very beginning, just where the title screen came up. I was just like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever
seen. Just in a fever dream, like,
yeah. But anyways, no, I've been through my highs and lows emotionally and physically around you, man. And but there's something about the transformative nature of honesty as well, and there's also something about the transformative nature of comedy. And I feel like riding the line between those two things with you and with our friend group, but it'll always be that way with us. I think the line between comedy and transformation and authenticity. There's like a funny
like the not line.
The not line. The line is the line's gone.
Inclusion. Yeah, the inclusion of all of that within the safe realm of our friendship, you know? Yeah.
And I know that that's something that you are to other people as well, and something that I am to other people too. But I got to say, it felt like a training ground in a lot of ways back in the day, because I didn't know who the fuck I even was, really. You know, like that was the whole path of growth and having close friends along that journey, and the ability to connect on deep, silly, and surface levels, depending on what the fuck's going on. You know, it's all coming up Millhouse.
Yeah, that's what we always said.
That's what we always said. Oh, there's comments here. That's right. Grant came on to say no right now, so that's nice. Hey Grant Tuska, nice to see you, my friend. You are also You are also somebody that I consider in that friend group. So Jay,
Yeah,
it's been a while, man.
yeah.
You moved out west quite a few years ago, and you have like a very cool life in Vancouver on Vancouver Island and in Nelson. Nelson?
Uh, yeah. I
Been
mean,
a while, man.
Nelson. Yeah, Nelson. I stop through often. I've lived in my van for the last 5-ish years. Um, but yeah, I moved out west like when I was 19, and so since then, you and I have just had to. I mean, we've seen each other so much, and all through the country as well. We hitchhiked, from Alberta to BC, and we've driven through BC a few times. And I would come out to Nova Scotia and see you. Um, but yeah, then I moved into my van sort of 5 or 6 years ago, and I've been setting up a mobile life situation with that as a seasonal worker. So my winters, yeah, I tend to go out west, and this winter I'm attempting again to live in Nelson. I have attempted that before, and I got chewed up and spat out, as it happens with Nelson. It either digests you or it spits you out. So I'm going to see about getting digested this time a little bit. Um,
And
and
the
but right
last
now
time
I'm
did
on the Sunshine
last time
Coast.
did you have your van last time?
No, no, I was renting. And there was
Like
no
you're
work, but there's work now. It's a new thing for Nelson. So
yay.
yeah,
Yeah, and also you now have the tree planting. Oh, and Grant says the quality on both ends is fantastic as well. So that's really good to hear, man. On
nice.
the film here, but yeah,
Okay.
you're a tree planter as well. That's something that I do
Yeah,
too. So it's nice to have
second
that tree
year.
plant second year, and being
Yeah,
able to have that as a background probably helps because you know that
yeah.
worst case scenario, you can fucking cartwheel into the season again if you need to.
Wow, that's a great idea. I think I'll do that.
But yeah, Jay, you've moved to Old West, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about maybe your philosophies and mystical undertones, man. Like, what makes you shake, and what is your spirituality? If you could find a way to summarize such undescribable things.
Um,
I'm putting you on
what
solo
is
for a
my
second.
spirituality? Okay, sure. Um, yeah, that's quite a question. I mean, everything for me just comes from the premise of the oneness of being. So, being is one. There's one being, the quality of existence itself. Um, and that's the one thing that anything that has being, like, has that quality of being. And that quality, it either is or it isn't. So um, that's kind of like the ground, or the highest cause, or it's the thing um, that expresses through all of us. And so, like, the closer that I can come to having like a personal relationship with that, you know, I mean, that's everywhere I look is a face of that one being, right? So if I can cultivate like a loving relationship with that, and if I can see being itself as beautiful, I mean, that's good.
Not bad, man. And if I'm not mistaken, I know that you're not a part of any tradition, but Sufism is a fairly close representation of that understanding, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So that's been my study and interest. Um, has been Sufi philosophy for the most part, especially Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, who was a Sufi philosopher prior to Rumi, who I also am really interested in. Um, and yeah, Ibn Arabi talks a lot about the oneness of being, and the place of the human, and the place of the human heart, as kind of as holding, the vice regency for the universe's, or God's getting to know itself through the individual expressions of each human, right? So that's kind of um, our responsibility in a way, and our privilege, to have that place of uh, being the eye through which God sees himself, and so we get to witness the unfolding of the universe, through our own unfolding. Um, yeah.
I love that, man. Now the uni balloon is something you've been working with since you were a teenager. I have a question.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know those Sufi philosophies before coming through uni balloon, or was that something that came of itself so through your being?
No, uni balloon is like just something that kind of arrived in my life. The uni balloon, it's a symbol, usually kind of cartoony, of a red balloon with the word uni in it. That's something that appeared in a dream in high school, and this dream, pretty epic. In the dream, I searched Google Image,
In the dream.
everything. Yes. I don't know if I ever told you this. It's because it has no meaning at all. This dream was not significant or important other than attaining this symbol. But I searched "Everything You Do Is a Balloon," which is a song by a band called Boards of Canada, into Google Image, and
Yep.
then I found this symbol, and I woke up and remembered it, and was like, "That's kind of cool," and I just started tagging it. I would tag it in buses or around the high school or whatever. Like, it became my tag, and then when I would hitchhike and go to festivals, I'd go as uni, and it just became like,
you are as uni right now.
yeah, most likely. So yeah. So it's kind of random, and it just sort of appeared in my life, and I just kind of, yeah, stick with it. I like that it's kind of silly, and I like that it's a bit it's just something original, which is rare, isn't it? Like, to have a truly original. I mean, it's not really, because it's based on this song by a band I like. So
Yeah, but it is and isn't. I guess the thing that was profound for me was that that's something that you were working with well before studying Sufi literature and going through an actual spiritual quest. And so to
yeah,
me,
right. I see.
I think I've always thought this, that uni was a precursor to your own
Yeah,
spiritual
I can see
awakening.
that.
It's
Yeah,
almost like yeah, in that dream or in that whatever, like your spirit was like, hey, I actually have a really strong resonance with these teachings around unification. And
yeah,
somehow it came out as this little uni balloon as a teenager. And for
yeah,
me, that was most striking kind of as I got older. At the time I thought, Jay's silly, that's cute. And then as like I was like, that's cute, it's not in a bad way, it's like, oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
a silly
totally.
cute guy, right? And then
Yeah,
as I actually started to go through the understanding of oneness and like the unification of oneness in my heart and all that kind of stuff, I was like,
yeah.
fucking Jay's been on this for the last like 7 years I've known him, like it
Yeah,
was actually quite profound to me,
right.
and made me look back at some of our experiences almost more mystically than I even understood them to begin with, like that was yeah, something about uh there's some aspects of our spirit that I do think try to find their way through. And if it happens to come through a beautiful tradition like Sufism, awesome. But to me, it's really cool that it came through something that didn't have necessarily any philosophical ground at the
Right.
beginning. And I love that shit, man.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, yeah. I've always been concerned with. I've always been interested in. I like that word you used, unification or union. Which is where you have another, or the other. But the separation is like illusory. So the
Mhm.
idea of, like, two things that are diametrically opposed actually being, like south and north pole of one magnet, and you could even cut the magnet in half, and you've just created, two extra, or another each,
Yeah.
south and north pole. And so yeah, so, and that's the way it is with all of the, things of the world that appear separate. I mean, even like, not in an abstract way, but like the human being. I mean, clearly we're created from our environment, and like the word human, it comes from the word for earth, humus. So hummus, it both means earth, and in the Bible, God, it's said that God created
Humans
the
from the
human out
clay.
of the mud,
Yeah.
out of the clay. And I mean, it's just true. Like, all the matter and of the world, like, it's what we're made of. So like, there's a kinship, isn't there? Like between everything that we walk amongst, you know, we're made of the same stuff. So let's be friends. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's cool because like you've mentioned many times that earth-based practices are your way, and that earth-based, that makes sense again because you're saying that again, if everything is created out of the same mud, then we are all indeed one, and that's a very
Sure.
grounded, like earthly version of
Yeah.
that. Sometimes we talk about oneness and we're in the cosmos and the stars, but you're saying nah, like the matter in this body is the same thing as the matter in that beautiful tree behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. For sure. And but you know, like it's expressed in each its unique way, you know, which is so beautiful. um you know, all the expressions of, I mean, you know, all the different trees, like there's the expression of treeness that any tree expresses, but it expresses it in its unique way, and each day expresses itself in a totally unique way. Like there's never been a day like today. It's amazing. It's just that's crazy, you know. And every person is a totally unique expression, you know, that's never happened before. So there's this amazing unfolding novelness. What's the word? Novelty?
Novel Novelty.
Novelty. There's this
Yeah.
gorgeous novelty, you know, that's always revealing itself as the unfolding, you know, of creation.
When
Like
you just
fucking
described
hey.
that, it almost reminded me of songs as well, that each song would always be
Yeah,
unique to itself, and each day that song would appear different depending on
yeah,
the people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And you are a musical man as well. I've
Yeah.
sat in a few cafes where you had a full fucking drum set up with microphones and everything, man. Like you've always been a really cool musician. Um, I thought he froze for a second. I was like, "Oh fuck, I lost Jay," but it was like, "Oh, just too much stillness." Um,
I'm chilling.
um,
I'm chilling in the
yeah, yeah.
sunshine. Great.
But yeah, so in terms of oneness and the correlation towards music, is there anything that you could describe in there? Because I feel like there is a fairly strong link.
I mean, probably. Like I could come up with that. Like I think I have an aptitude for music and I just like it. But you know, sound and music and vibration, it's another way of looking at creation and how the world is formed through vibration, you know. Um and I mean I talked about matter, but that's just another um uh it's another creative paradigm, right? Which is this idea of matter, and vibration is another creative paradigm where uh, where you know things have frequencies and form patterns, and that's what constitutes a thing. Like there's me as a thing, but you know we all know that my matter's in quantum flux and I'm constantly changing, and you know so really I'm more of a or anything is more of a pattern or a system of
Mhm.
vibration, right? So you know, and lots of traditions talk about creation being a sound, like Om being the sound of creation, or in Sufism Hu, which is to be, or the command to be, and also a word for God. So there's some you know parallel there
Mhm.
between a command and a sound and movement and creation and being itself, right?
Mm. Yeah, I feel that, man.
I like music though.
Um, no, I feel that. I feel that. That's. I was asking basically for you to say what I was feeling, which is exactly that. So there is a correlation between those things. Speaking of how you are always in flux and changing, what a fucking beautiful beard, man. God
Thank you.
damn.
I
God
grew it.
damn.
My chin grew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's fair to say I'm looking at the two of us on screen, and we're both people in our mid 30s. You know, the truth is, I think we're quite young, and I'm just looking at that big, beautiful beard, and then I'm seeing this like masculine sort of manliness about you as well, and it's really quite beautiful.
Thanks, man.
That's a bit of a
Yeah.
sidestep. Sorry, man. I was just like entranced in
No,
the
that's
beard.
okay. Yeah,
Ooh.
it feels good. I mean, I'm just you know, I'm a couple years out of my Saturn return. I was just talking to Akush about this because he's just kind of in the midst of his or entering his, and um, it in terms of like I don't know, just my identity and my place in the world. I just feel really like sort of secure in that for probably the first time in my life, you know, over the last 5 years and really kind of solidly over the last two.
Hmm.
So yeah, thanks for noticing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I also went through that process pretty hard, man. So I totally understand. It was like at 30, I think is when we launched our center in Halifax, which is really good.
Right.
Um, and there was you never got to visit us, the center, did you?
No,
Fuck off.
no, I
Fuck
know.
off.
I know.
No,
Yeah,
that's okay.
FOMO for real.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was around the 32, 33 mark where things started to become a little more solid. And honestly, now look, I don't think that I'm as lighthearted or creative as I have been. Things are this the family thing is a very immersive and intense experience.
Yeah,
But there is a solidity underneath all of that that I don't think I've ever been able to access that's the same as it is now. I
yeah,
don't really give a fuck what people think.
yeah.
Whereas I don't know if you remember before, but I really gave a fuck what people thought.
Uh-huh.
Like I spent a lot of time being quite insecure and anxious about that. And it's not
Yeah,
that I don't have those little pangs come up because I do think that whatever we carry, we tend to carry it for life. But in like a, it can be playful. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But
that's
I
right.
have to say, over the last little while, and having a little boy for fuck's sakes, you know that earthly process you were just talking about being one with the earth and being one with another person, and then creating a baby out of that, man, is wild. It's like, and really, there's times when that feeling comes up of like, uh-oh, like what could people think? And then I'm like, I don't care. Like my son, and
Mhm.
making sure that he's safe and making sure that he's like growing up and developing in the way that would be beneficial for his uh, life. Basically, all I really give a fuck about right now, which is really cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I've never
That's beautiful.
I've cried on your shoulder plenty of times.
Yeah, likewise.
In Yeah, in fact, let's
Probably
do it
more
right.
like around here for you because you're tall.
Yeah, I'm taller. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Do you
actually
want to
had to
just
bend over to crawl on my shoulder. Like it was probably uncomfortable.
I laid you down first. I picked you up, laid you down, and then cried on your shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah. I really, really value you as a person, my friend, and I really appreciate. There's still moments in my life that I call on you almost like a spirit guide, bro. Like you're like, like there's times where I'm like, fuck, man, I need some J inspiration on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise, Josh. Seriously. And I tell people about my friend Josh, and especially when someone's like, I don't know much about astrology. Like you know, can you talk about the signs? And I'm like, yeah. So I have this friend Josh, and he's an Aquarius. And I'm just going to describe to you
Yeah,
my
use
friend
the
Josh,
archetypes.
and you'll get an idea of what Aquarius is. You're like one of the most archetypical.
Poster
Um,
boy. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Aquarian poster boy. But the only thing is, though, Aquarians tend to be a little bit weird, and I'm not like that.
That's true. Yeah, you're kind of more
Straight
business
like,
like.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's the hair looks like I'm free and flowing, but actually, if you look in the back here, it's no, yeah, it is. So
Party in the front and the back and the sides.
there's a lot of party. There's a lot of party going on right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you've mentioned that you're doing like night bike rides with friends right now. When you're in Edmonton, is it?
Yeah. No,
Dude, man.
some friends in Calgary, they started doing that around the pandemic, and I've only done a couple with them, but yeah, shout out to Jay and the crew. It's my friend Jay Michael. Nobody ever gets us confused. Um,
Is his last name like Roberts? J. Michael
no,
Roberts?
no, I actually forget his last name, but I'm Jay Mitchell, and so anyway, but around the pandemic, they took to the streets one night on their bikes because it was all empty and it was just kind of cool to cruise around Calgary. And then every single Friday since then, pretty much without fail, these guys bike around the street and bike into car parks and just cruise around. And it could be, you know, 10 people, 10, 15 people sometimes out all night until, you know, 1 or 2. And so, yeah, I just did that recently.
Yeah. I've been
So fun.
thinking
It's such a
it's
sweet
literally
scene.
literally come to my mind like 4 or 5 times. And actually, I've gone for a few skateboards, even though I'm by myself. And it's kind of in the spirit of the whole thing, you know. Like the feeling is
Yeah.
like good to
Well,
fucking just
because
be
yeah,
outside.
we used to do that.
That,
You know, when we would get together, that was our thing. Is we would walk, but we would walk around Fall River all night, and just just sing and uh, make theater and just like it was really ecstatic in a way. Yeah, very liberating.
it means the world to me. Like as you're talking about it, I can actually feel my heart kind of welling up because it was like such an important part of my life is to have these close friends that you can just go fuck around with outside, and it feels
Exactly.
like the spirits were with us. You know, there was always like fun, weird
Definitely. Yeah,
things
yeah.
going.
No,
You
there's a
know,
air, there's an air that happens when, and it happens in music, like bringing that back to it, especially in a band. And we were in a band, we were in a 7-piece band, like I think about that sometimes. That's pretty amazing.
a lot of
Um,
people, man. It's like it's funny because now everyone's just like a solo looper, and it's such contrast to where things have gone as to where we were, right? It's like, yeah,
yeah,
7-piece ensemble. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
The
But the
easy part
magical
was
air that comes from that, or even just we'd hang out on the stoop in Halifax, and like. You can walk by a thing like that of people playing guitar with their toes on the front stoop, and having smokes, and uh but just loving the sunshine and loving each other and loving the people that go by, and there's really something special there.
it felt like that was our goal, was just to bring as much love into the space as we possibly could, man. Like it
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
fun. And the whole idea is that at the time it was all about positivity. So if someone was feeling like depressed, it was like, come with us, like we're gonna go on an adventure. Like
yeah, yeah,
it's time to play and be merry, like it was a
yeah.
very yeah, it was a very cool what can I say, a cool
Practice or something.
practice, or yeah, like response to a
Yeah,
fairly painful world as well. I think it's really important to
right.
remember that a lot of the stuff that is now mainstream to talk about, which is mental health and spirituality and philosophy and understanding, it's like that was not the case like while we were growing up. Like there was pockets of people that were very interested, and there's been pockets of people forever that are very interested, but the main consciousness was not that at all. And so I feel
Yeah,
like when we were doing that, we were kind of bringing people out of the matrix in a weird way, like come this way,
yeah,
like
yeah. We
I
blew
know
some
things
minds,
feel
eh?
heavy and hard, but come and dance with us, like
Yeah, yeah. No, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Wonderful, brother.
yeah. Oh, there's a couple more things that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, please
might have
bring up those.
lost might have lost a few things though in the process here. I've just been getting all excited about our history. um hmm And van life is going well for you, hey? Like, would you go back? Like, do you have a feeling of like sometimes like, fuck, I just wish I had a sink, or are you doing okay? Because I'm
Yeah.
just
I
saying,
mean,
because I
what's
feel
that?
that sometimes. Like, the only thing
Yeah,
we're missing in our bus is a shower. We've got everything else,
yeah,
but
yeah,
showers are nice. Like there's definitely a
yeah,
feeling when you, yeah.
yeah. So like I moved into a '98 Astro 6 years ago or so, and then I added a teardrop trailer to it, and I cruised around with that setup for a while, and that was great. I had a little kitchen in the back and stuff like that. And then just recently I've sold my whole setup, and I upgraded to just a white panel ProMaster van, and then I want to add a trailer to it. So I'm kind of back to square one a bit, and it's a bit rustic,
But with like a
and
way nicer vehicle, though, like that's the
it's a way
difference.
nicer vehicle, and it's like no one can tell someone lives in there. It's not the type of vehicle people usually live in, and
Yeah.
that's kind of this next step of this van life journey that I'm taking, is now I'm not bothered. I can go anywhere. I can go into the middle of the city and park, and I disappear because it just looks like a work setup. And so the trailer will be added to that, and then I'll have the shower and sink and stuff in that. But that'll
Do
be
you use
another 4 years away. A
a
P
piss
jar,
jar? Yeah,
of course.
exactly. How did you know? Before I even got to even say it, just I leaned in and you were like, he's gonna ask about that piss jar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, P jar. That's key. That's key.
Sorry, man. That was a really funny moment for me.
I know. Yeah, I was talking to someone recently about it and asking what they're up to tonight, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna have a bath and all this nice things. What about you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna go down to the beach and clean out my pee jar." You've got a pee jar.
Have
Right.
you
Like,
have
yep.
you ever in your spiritual path ever gotten into drinking your own piss?
No, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you why I'm asking. There's like this whole push. I've got quite a few
I've heard
friends
of this. Yeah,
that
I've
I
heard of
know that
this.
they're super into it. I
I've also
can't.
heard of distilling DMT from it. As that was mentioned to me at some point, that you can distill your own personal, your own personal brand of dimethyltryptamine from pee. I don't know if that's true,
Oh
but anyway,
well,
give it a shot.
well,
And
yeah.
what's the
You
worst
give it.
that could
How about
happen?
you be a way shower? Okay, you lead the charge, and I'll come up the rear.
Could you please? I really like when you come up the rear.
I was actually kind of like, I'm not joking because that's a thing that people that I know do, but
Yeah.
I can't get into it. Hey, and there's
Okay.
like always a thing where like, yeah, but like you'll be healthier, and I'm like, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
um, Speaking of DMT though, I
Yeah.
happen to have personal inside information that you just experienced a 3-day ayahuasca ceremony. And I
I
think
did.
that,
Yeah.
like, I mean, just as in like yesterday, you were in it still, right?
The day before. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
The third night was 2 nights ago.
Can I ask you about your relationship to that particular spirit and what your experience was during this run?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's something at this point that I'm developing sort of a relationship with, the ayahuasca um, medicine, and uh, it's I guess it kind of comes back to what we were talking about our origin, um, our earthly origin, and the
Mhm.
origin of our species, because like our species and all life um, comes from a correlative situation, like um, you sometimes hear herbal practitioners or people who are interested in herbalism talk about, isn't it amazing how there's a plant for our kidneys, there's a plant for our liver, there's a plant for our heart, our lungs, there's a plant that speaks to each organ in our body. It's amazing. But actually our bodies, and our organs developed in relationship with these plants,
Mm.
right? And so um, it's no coincidence, not necessarily because of an intelligent design from an outside perspective, but because
Internally.
there's an interrelative design, um, and this is what evolution is. So like the idea of the fittest, it's not about strength. And actually the way that Darwin uses the word fit in Survival of the Fittest is different from how we use fit today. It's about fitting, and so it's about relationship, right? So for me, like the ayahuasca really has shown me viscerally that everything is something to have a relationship with,
Mm.
and that we have a relationship with vis-a-vis our senses. When we eat something, when we drink something, when we see something, when we feel something, there's a relationship, and that relationship reveals something about ourselves, based on for example, when you touch a hard wood, then you reveal that you're soft, and
Mm.
it reveals that it's hard. And so there's a co-learning that happens. That's a really simple example, but our humanity is revealed through relationship with like non-human beings. And so it's the context for our existence here on Earth comes from these relationships, to these like other relations, all these non-human beings that we walk amongst. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Ayahuasca has been a huge part of my own journey as well.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's cute thinking about all of the psychedelic trips that you and I would have taken many days in the past
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because ayahuasca and DMT, in my opinion, put you straight to whatever the fuck that is that you're looking to go towards. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like with mushrooms, they're beautiful, and LSD is beautiful. And if you keep on going through those pathways, you can get to these places of oneness, which is amazing. I have found ayahuasca and DMT to be a pretty quick shot straight to that place. Like, I don't. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of fucking around, you know, not a lot of dilly
Yeah.
dallying. It seems to be like a very direct route, and I know that a lot of people in this world are experimenting with that more than ever now too, and people in positions of power and all these things, which is what we've been asking for forever. You know, the tagline used to be every politician should take some mushrooms, as it would probably make us a better person. But you know, in a lot of ways, there is a psychedelic renaissance happening right now too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
integration and understanding of these plants, and the study of them in university settings, for fuck's sakes, you know, like these are things that would
Yeah.
have been previously shunned, if not frowned, like
Yeah.
if not frowned upon, definitely untouched. So it's a pretty lucky time, and I think having a
Yeah.
relationship with these things and being able to communicate these findings is a really beautiful thing, man. So thank you
Yeah.
for yeah. Is there anything striking that happened in through that experience that feels to talk about, or just the truth of that interconnected reality?
Yeah, I mean that really came through. You know, that always comes through. It really came through stronger than ever this time. Um, and you know, what's really striking with ayahuasca is the sense of almost personhood that um, that the experience has with it.
Mhm.
That it's
The
not
mama.
just the yeah, that it's not just the quality of my altered state, but that it's the visceral sense of an intelligence, of a non-human intelligence, you know, that like knows me and stuff,
Mhm.
and has
Yeah,
knowledge. It's
for me, I get visions from that being about things in my life that need to change and stuff. Like, it's pretty fucking
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's quite incredible. And I think this time, like one of the most striking things is just the relationship that's starting to open up, and the familiarity, and not just the familiarity for me personally, but the familiarity for like I was saying, you know, our species, and how we evolved in relationship with I mean all plants, and everything we consume, you know, alters our body and our mind in some way, you know. um, that's what they things do when they enter us and they transform us, you know, and we digest them, and then it translates into um, different effects on the body, right? um, and so like I really feel yeah, quite a profound ancestral sort of relationship, you know,
Mhm.
uh, with this plant. Yeah.
Yeah, same, man. Yeah, I'm happy that we're able to share the journey.
Yeah.
So as we're coming up to a wrap here, man, I was thinking about sharing your links to your music and all that kind of stuff. Like, where are you at musically right now? What's your push? I noticed just recently you posted a song, so you must be pretty active still in the music creation.
No, no,
Oh,
no, not particularly. Um, yeah, since you know, there was a couple years there where less was happening musically in the world in terms of festivals and events and people gathering, and that coincided for some reason. I don't know really what was happening in the world, but I'm just kidding. It was COVID, um, and I um and I started tree planting. And so it kind of coincided with, you know, I just kind of let music go on the back burner a little bit. And I'm focusing on, okay, I've had this visual this year of what I'm up to, because music has always been something I've been trying to do, and something that, especially with van life, has been really difficult to have a grounded space, a supportive
yeah,
space for. But I've had, you know, just lots of dreams, and I've always been very creative. So I feel like I've had this big head, and it's been wanting to go this way and that. And then my little legs are like trying to keep keep up with my head.
that's
And
cute.
so now, you know, I've kind of realized that, okay, I need to have a little more of a stable base here. And so it's leg day. the last couple years, and so like
True.
last
Fuck
couple
yeah, of
years,
course.
last couple years
I
I've
was
paid my
thinking,
debt, and I'm just like creating a stronger stability, for me to support my music. So these two
so
recordings I put out last year.
I was visualizing a bobblehead,
Yeah,
and it was quite cute. Like I was like, oh my god,
yeah,
that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. But then I realized you were talking about your chakras, which actually is much deeper. It makes a lot more sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the string for the uni balloon is I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, but yeah, the ground for the balloon is
Yeah,
coming down. I totally hear you, man.
yeah.
It's interesting. You're one of the people that during the COVID crisis, I found was very, 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 very good at not falling into either sides of the polarity, meaning the mainstream fear or the conspiracy fear. Like I noticed that you just didn't really seem to get into the fear, and I just want to say thank you for that, because the people that really held that non-fearful space and really weren't engaging in the polarity and the division, I think that there's something very special about that role, especially because a part of me feels like a lot of the there was something that was trying to get us to do that, to get divided. And I think being stronger than that impulse and being strong enough in oneself to just be like, I actually don't know, and hold that in a really beautiful way is a very, very powerful thing. So I just want to say thank you for that, man. It was very inspiring for me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wasn't really interested in in
I'm
like
making it sound so epic, right? But you're just like, no.
yeah.
Pamela came up to say, love listening to this. Nice
Oh,
to see
hi
you. So
Pam.
nice.
Nice to see you. Much
Yeah,
love.
yeah. I love being able to put people's comments up on the screen like that,
Yeah, I
man.
just saw it. That's cool.
It's been really cool. It's been really
Yeah,
nice program. That I
so
don't know why
nice.
we all Zoom is kind of like the email of social media or something now. Like I'm just like seeing there's all these people that are doing this way more creative versions. It's like fuck that. I'm not going back to Zoom.
Yeah, this is great. We should do it again sometime for sure.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jay, and thank you so much for listening, Pam and Grant, and anyone else who was in the stream today. Thank you so much for coming to watch. And yeah, I'm gonna end the broadcast on the
Okay.
now, if that's okay. Do you have anything else you
Yeah.
want to share? Or?
Love you, Josh.
I love you too, man. Stick around. Stick around for 1 second, though.
Yeah, sure.